is a technique I've called intuitive nurturing. And intuitive nurturing is basically a profound way or a deep way to connect with your baby in such a way that you can respond to your baby without having your baby necessarily express their need to you. And this has been shown to happen with people who physically have contact with their babies very frequent during the day, and that can happen through wearing the child in a sling, sleeping with the child. There's been a lot of controversy about co-bedding. Yeah. I don't know if you've heard about that, or co-sleeping. There are definitely safe ways to sleep with your baby. And that's something that I outline in the book as well, how to safely have your baby within arm's reach. And all of these, and also kangaroo care. And what kangaroo care is a method of putting your baby on your chest with her ear to your heart. And all of these techniques greatly enhance your intuitive bond with your baby. And it strengthens their immune system. It regulates their sleep. It regulates their cardiac or their heart rhythms and rate. It regulates their breathing. It regulates their temperature. They've even shown how when the baby is laying on the mother's chest, how the mother temperature will change if somebody simply says your baby is cold. The mother will automatically, without, obviously regulating temperature is not a voluntary thing, and her temperature would automatically raise just to that one command.
That shows how they are still connected even
Absolutely.
after the birth. They're not really separated.
Absolutely. I've heard of women who practice intuitive nurturing, who know when their baby is sick before they have signs and symptoms of illness.
Yeah, I used to feel that.
Yeah, and think about how powerful that is. That's a very powerful thing, to be able to attune to your baby so well that the baby doesn't have to cry, doesn't have to show any form of distress or pain, and to be able to respond to that. That's a very powerful thing, and I think that we live in a society that really advocates too much separation. We have the whole sleep training stuff, where, which is, I believe, very counterintuitive, where they tell you to, ignore your baby's cries.
Yeah.
You had, just a little while ago, you had that feeding on schedule. Well, feeding on schedule, think about that.
I never were fed on schedule.
You know what I'm saying? So, that was a very clear instruction for new parents. I remember that.
Yeah.
That was about 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah, because I know when I was having mine, they were discouraging breastfeeding. You had to have the bottle, and you had to have it on schedule. But I went with the breastfeeding, and now look, it's did a 180-degree turn, and now breastfeeding is all the rage now, and not the bottle.
And so it should be too. When you think about it, 200 chemicals in breast milk that cannot be duplicated in artificial milk.
Well, I was always told too that anything we have had, any childhood diseases or anything that we are immune to, we pass that immunity on to the baby.
Absolutely.
And it keeps that immunity for as long as 2 years.
Oh, yes. That is absolutely true, and then some. I mean, there is really just nothing that compares to human milk.
And if you just do it naturally, you don't look at the clock and say, well, is it time or not?
Right. And it's also something where it's born of intuitive nurturing as well. The baby doesn't have to cry of hunger. You start to get the sense, I believe that my baby is hungry now. And you just bring the baby to the breast, and, the baby is inevitably hungry. It doesn't have to cry, doesn't have to show that it's hungry. It's a very freeing thing.
You also said in the book, too, that children that are ignored and left to cry alone after a while they begin to shut down.
Yes.
And this can affect their emotional development.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's called Dr. William Sears, who is an author of many wonderful, wonderful baby books. He calls that shutdown syndrome. And what that is that it's basically another word for failure to thrive. And failure to thrive means that the baby no longer develops normally as it should. The growing is stunted, development is stunted overall. And that has been proven to occur in children who are left like crying in their cribs, whose cries are ignored, or they go through this, they think that going through this sleep training is the right way to do it.
Yeah.
And inevitably what happens is that the baby cries and cries and cries. When they realize that there is nobody coming to their aid or to comfort them, they realize that, hey, I've got too much energy leaving me. Let me just shut down so this way whatever little energy I have, I conserve. Mm-hmm. And that's what shutdown syndrome is.
You know, they always said, well, you'll spoil the baby if you keep picking it up.
No, isn't that hideous? I think about that now. It just makes my stomach turn.
Yeah, because, you know, that's what they always said. You know, you shouldn't hold it that much. You shouldn't pick it up every time it whimpers. But I think if you really become in tune with it, you know the difference. You know if you would be overdoing it.
Yeah. Well, there is no overdoing when it comes to physical contact. Again, all of the evidence suggests that close contact with a baby or with a young child enhances their immune system and regulates their inner workings. It soothes their mind, body, and soul and enhances their development. Mm-hmm. So it does everything opposite than what they say, you know, oh, put that distance or don't pick them up or whatever. I mean, it's just a wonderful, wonderful thing by keeping close contact. And plus you get that added benefit of getting that intuitive sense of what they're going through.
Yeah.
And responding to them in an intuitive way.
On the news here just the other night, I was thinking, where have these people been all these years? They were talking about the neonatal units with the little preemies and that how they discovered, I don't know out of the blue or what, that if they would, the nurse's aide would sit and hold them and rock them, yes, that they would thrive, and they called it tender, loving care, and they said they need that touch. And I was thinking, duh, you know, where
exactly.
have you been? People have known this for a long time.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it was the Colombian physicians in Bogota that really coined the whole term kangaroo care, and they did this study with premature babies. And what they found was they were able to cut premature mortality rates from 70% all the way to 30%. That much of a decrease in mortality rates just from practicing the kangaroo care that I explained, putting the baby on the mother's chest. From 70% to 30%. That's pretty dramatic.
Yes, but I was watching that news show and I was thinking, you're just now discovering this?
Yeah. Isn't that something? And they did this back in, I think it was in early 1980s, they did this discovery.
Yeah, because they found out the ones that were left in the little, cribs and the incubators, they didn't have any touch at all because I guess they thought they were too small. But there was a failure to thrive.
Yes, yes. So what they found is by taking out the baby and just, even though, there's a risk of infection and all of that, they figured, keeping them in an isolette will keep them protected from any pathogens or, foreign bodies.
Yeah, germs and all of that.
Exactly, but when in reality they absolutely needed that touch, that human contact, especially with somebody who has such a profound love for them like their mother, and they sense that too. Oh, absolutely.
I'm watching the clock. That's what my doctor said the other night. Wow, the hour sure goes by fast.
It sure did. Wow, I'm looking.
Because I have to stop at 5 till because they're going to put commercials in at a later date. But is there anything that you think is the most important thing you would like to tell parents out there?
Well, basically,
to be parents.
I'm sorry? What was that? I'm sorry, what was your question?
Or to be parents. Anything that you would really like to tell them?
Well, basically, my whole thing is by all means, obey your natural instinct to embrace your child. Let us stop treating our children in a way that has been so counterintuitive all these years. Let's, stop with all of this rushed and hurried pace, and let's look at our children's soul for what they are. Let's not, try to put them in things that we would have liked ourselves to have done. I know a lot of parents, me included, that has, done something like that. You aspire them to do something that you yourself wanted to do when you were younger. No, let's look at our child for the strengths and weaknesses that they have. Every child is here for a reason, and once they find their authentic selves, that is an accomplishment that, nobody, there's no amount of money that can buy that. There's no amount of other type of outward happiness that, they can achieve without finding their authentic selves. And basically that's it.
Mm-hmm. I think this is, maybe it's going to give a lot of parents an alternative way to look at this from the traditional. Right, and Christine Ramos has been the guest tonight, and her book is called A Journey into Being, and it will be available in another week or so. It takes a little bit to get it to the distributors, to get it to the bookstores, but it's called A Journey into Being, and it's all about seeing your babies as spirit and nurturing that and learning to look at it in a different way. And Christine is going to be a speaker at our conference that we're going to have on June the 3rd and 4th, the Transformation Conference, and it's going to be in Fayetteville, Arkansas, at the Clarion Inn. She will be another one of our wonderful speakers, and you'll be able to hear much more from her, and you'll be able to have contact with her also during the breaks to ask questions. So we're hoping that a lot of you will want to come and enjoy all of this. Right, but now we're coming down to the time to close. Thanks, Christine, for being on tonight.
Thank you, Dolores. It was my pleasure.
Is there any way anyone can contact you if they need to?
Absolutely. You can go on my website, and that is www.intuitivenurturing.com. Intuitivenurturing.com. Yes, and my email is within that website, but I'll give it to you as well, and it's simply Christine@intuitivenurturing.com.
Okay. And anyone that wants any information about the books that Ozark Mountain Publishing is putting out or information about the Transformation Conference can go on our website. Our website is www.ozarkmountain, but it's abbreviated, OZARKMT.com, OZARKMT.com, or you can call us at 1-800-935-0045, 1-800-935-0045.
You have been listening to BBS Radio, a blogandservice.com production and a service to others endeavor. Thank you very much for tuning in to our radio program, and we wish you much peace and joy on your journey.